Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the afternoon session of Day 2 IWEEK. This event is organized by Universitas Gadjah Mada. My name is Amanda. I will be your facilitator for this session, and hopefully, in this session, it will be beneficial for all of us, and we will have a fruitful discussion. Before we begin, I will open the session by introducing our speaker for this afternoon session. And now for our current session, we have a very special speaker who is an expert in human development that has joined us today. I would like to welcome Dr. Bob Aubrey. Thank you very much for being
Hello.
here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Okay. How are you doing, by the way? I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing very good. I'm sitting here in Singapore.
Oh,
Yesterday, we just got news that we can, in September, we will be able to travel without the quarantine. So it's been, almost more than a year and a half.
okay, that's very good news. I hope Indonesia is getting better also in terms
Oh,
of
we'll get
the
there.
COVID cases.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind if I call you Pak Bob because we refer to
Bob,
Pak as
Bobby,
Mister
anything you
here.
like.
It's great, Pak Bob. So for our topic in this lecture, it's going to be human development in digital era. And now, as your facilitator, it is my duty to introduce our speaker. So Dr. Bob Aubrey here, or Pak Bob, is the founder and chair of the advisory board for the Asian Human Development Organization, or AHDO. He is also chairman of the Human Development Committee of the European Chamber of Commerce in Singapore. And Pak Bob has led esteemed and varied career as business consultant, entrepreneur, writer, and also teacher. He lived in the USA, Europe, China, and Singapore, and his work has taken him to more than 24 countries across 6 continents. Oh, that's amazing. It sounds really fun. As leadership expert, he designed the 2020 award-winning Programi for Pertamina in Indonesia, the largest of its kind in Southeast Asia, and he has been lead consultant for the Apple's first corporate university outside the US, as well talent development design for major multinationals in Europe and Asia. As a business school professor, he has taught leadership, talent development, and personal development in France, China, Australia, and Singapore. And as a writer, he has published 12 books translated into 9 languages on the theme of leadership, learning, human development, and the future of work. You are really amazing.
That's a long description.
That is it from me. I know everyone is excited, so let's begin our session. To the speaker, the time is yours.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm very happy to see all of you, and very happy to be here. And thanks to Rocky for inviting me to this session. Before I begin with the content, I see that my friend Pambudi Sunarsihanto, who is our guest speaker, is already here. Pambudi, can you raise your hand so we can see you? There you are. And we will let me introduce Pambudi for a moment, because in this adventure for human development and the Human Development Organization, we have worked together. He has been the founding president of the AHDO, and we rotate each year. So he was chair last year. This year it goes to Vietnam. But even before that, Pambudi and I have worked together and collaborated when he was regional learning director for Southeast Asia for Nokia. Then we were together in China when you came up to China for Nokia, and we worked together in Singapore in consulting. So we've been collaborating and talking for a long time. And that's why I invited Pambudi to be the first chair of this organization. And we're very lucky because this case study is one that he's going to be able to talk about with authority because he's the one that's handling this whole situation of sustainable workforce at Bluebird. But I'm sure he has a lot of things to share with you as well. So Pam, anytime you feel like jumping in, jump in. What we'll do is we'll start with the slides so that I can sort of define what the sustainable workforce and sustainable human development is. But if you want to add anything, Pam, just jump in. And for all of you participants, if you would like to ask a question at any time, the easiest way is you use that hand. You've been using this, I'm sure. You use the hand signal, or you can also just wave your hand in the screen. But I'm not necessarily going to see it, so that I'll stop and answer any questions, hoping I'm not going to lose my voice here. So 2 hours sounds like a long time, but I have to ask you one question before I begin. I have plan A and plan B, depending on you. You're in 7 groups. I have the list here. And we sent you the case study before. So can you tell me if those 7 groups have been able to meet and discuss the case, and are you ready to present something that you've already discussed? That's plan A. Or plan B, maybe you have received the case, but you haven't had a chance to meet and discuss because I know you're having a lot of other courses. And in which case we will take some time for you to read quickly the case, and then we'll just discuss the case together according to groups. So that's plan B. Are we going to go with plan A or plan B? You decide. You have to help me on this one. Any of the students, please. I can't decide on my own because I don't know what you've done.
Excuse me, sir. Could you please repeat the plan B?
Plan B is that we just take some time for you to read the case in your subgroups, and then we just go straight into the discussion with generating ideas. So it's not like 7 groups to present takes a lot of time. That's why we can't do it. It takes. I'll have to really shorten the presentation. On the other hand, if you just need 10 minutes in your subgroups to read the case, then we come back in a plenary discussion. We'll discuss your ideas, but we will then ask Pambudi to sort of give us more time to explain what he's doing. Does that help, Carlin?
Yeah, thank you so much. I will vote for plan B.
Yes, I think the plan B will be better, sir.
Okay, everybody goes for plan B. Anybody disagree?
I also agree with plan B, sir.
Okay, all right. All right, that gives us more time with Pambudi, so I'm delighted about that. And let's jump into the first part, which is the presentation. So I'm going to run through about 12 slides to explain what the human dimension is of this whole area of sustainability, and also why in the ASEAN region we are creating a different concept, a different approach to how to manage people in companies and in organizations. So that's what I want to start with. As I said, Pambudi has been part of this as well. So please jump in, Pambudi.
Will do.
Okay. Pam, why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself a little bit more, since we're...
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pambudi. As you can see, Pambudi Sunarsihanto does not in Medan or Manado. I am from Java, yes. So 4 hours from Yogyakarta, there is a small city called Magetan that maybe some of you may know. When I was 6 years old, I had a dream to study in Germany. My father looked at my forehead and think I got fever. But that's my philosophy, and I wish to share here. Michelangelo says, the danger is not to set your dream too high and fail. The danger is to set your dream too low and achieve it. So with that dream to study in Germany, I work hard. On 86, I got accepted in ITB, Teknik Industri. Then I stayed there for 2 or 3 months, and I did not achieve my dream to study in Germany, but I got scholarship to study in France. I stay in France for 8 years. Took my bachelor degree in computer science, and then after that, my master degree in artificial intelligence. I like to travel. I'm 53 years old this Saturday. Bob, this Saturday is my birthday. Time to send me a present. I will be 53 years old this Saturday, and I have visited 53 countries. I keep record from each country, what is the positive thing from that country, and I try to copy and adopt that. Now, after working in the computer engineering field, I fell in love with the human side. Then I went to Finland to take my MBA. Then I take my MBA in HR management. After that, I start my career in HR. I used to be the head of HR in Telkomsel, HR director for Danone, Citibank, and here I am now running the HR function for Bluebird. You know Bluebird, but today I will be happy to share how we develop human as human in Bluebird. That's about it. After this, I will share more, and you can ask me any question that you like. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Pam. Okay, let me start with the slides here. Okay, well, you've seen about me, so we'll skip that. Let's start with what this organization is, because it's the first organization of its kind in the world. And as you can see in the picture, you can see Pambudi, you can see me. We are inaugurating this in September 2019, so almost 2 years ago. And we wanted to create the Human Development Organization. I'm going to explain the difference between HR, human capital in a minute. But what we're focusing on is human development at work or in the workplace. And we want to combine or make a community of professionals, whether they're coming from companies, from education, higher education, whether they're coming from consulting and training or coaching, all of those things that help people, including startup companies and particularly social enterprise companies. And there are a lot of them in Indonesia. So we're combining all those together. And then another big part of this is we know, and I know when I started having this idea, I went around and noticed that all of the HR organizations are only from one country. That is to say, there's no international HR organization for Southeast Asia. There's some international ones that have come in, but there isn't one for our region, and our region is very big. It's changing a lot. It's extremely diverse. And so I thought we needed a regional approach for this community of professionals to be able to discuss and to be able to do their work. So that's who we are. The next slide is, I'm going to use the word sustainable. You've probably heard a lot about sustainability if you know anything about Gajah Mada, which is the lead university in the ASEAN University Network for Sustainability. Now, what do you know about sustainable human development? That's something that is fairly new. And so that's what I want to focus on today, and that will introduce the case. So human development itself is a fairly new word, and a lot of people don't know exactly where that word comes from. In fact, and that's completely normal, even for myself. I was calling myself a human people developer. I was involved in HR, taught some HR courses, etc. But I started using the term human development more recently because it's really the right foundation for developing people. And it's about a new kind of paradigm. The prospect of expanding the real freedoms that people enjoy. So I believe that that's something that we try to do in companies, or should try to do. It's not necessarily the way HR is defined today, particularly in the American paradigm. This is the United Nations paradigm, and as you can see, it also represents Asian leadership, Asian thought leadership, because Mahbub al-Haq was from Pakistan and was a minister of Pakistan working with the United Nations. He's the one that created the Human Development Index, HDI. If you go on any website, you can find it. and you can find where your country is in terms of how well you're developing. But he had an economic and rather simplistic set of data to be able to do the HDI. The one that actually created the philosophy is Amartya Sen, who's Indian, and who won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1998. In 1999, published this book, Development is Freedom. So when we talk about development, we're not just talking about having more infrastructure, having a higher income for people. That's very important, but it's not the only thing. And unfortunately, we tend to think that it's the only thing. So first of all, if it's about freedom, then it's expanding real freedoms. And that is the end and principal means of development. So when we're talking about developing people, it's this means of freedom. And of course, we have to look at the unfreedoms or the restrictions to freedom that people have. At AHDO, we've gone beyond this definition because, as you can see, it sort of focuses on the problems and on a simple concept. In companies, we can't just talk only about freedom. We have to talk about capabilities and renewal and entrepreneurship and innovation and leadership and all of these things as well. So there is a whole development dimension in companies that helps the United Nations do its job. So obviously this comes into the Sustainable Development Goals. You've probably seen many of them, and you've seen this picture, I'm sure, at least once. But no poverty, zero hunger, good health, well-being, quality education, gender equality, decent work. Now this is the International Labor Organization, and it's Amartya Sen's definition that has defined what decent work is. And then in infrastructure, innovation, etc., reduced inequalities, peace, justice, strong institutions, partnership for the goals. These are all areas where the AHDO is involved in the people side of development concerning the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, I talked about the ILO, which is the labor or work institution of the United Nations. It's based in Geneva, Switzerland. And here's their definition of decent work. As you can see, it's very different from just having people be more productive. It sums up the aspirations, making people productive, fair income, social protection, better prospects for personal development, social integration, freedom, participation, equal opportunity and treatment. So these are sort of the goals that anybody that's involved in human development would, in the workplace, would value as being our sort of foundation. We go beyond that by saying it's an opportunity also to organize work as a vehicle of human development. So we're trying to make work into something that is more than just a job for money. And we try to design and organize work to meet organizational goals. Of course, you have to support the business, the company, but also the individual goals of people that are working there. And what we'll see in this case study is, who are we talking about when we talk about people? Is it just the employees, or is it what we call the contingent workforce or the larger workforce? So there's a whole knowledge base that we're using at AHDO, and this is something, again, that I say is new. Fortunately, we're involved also just recently in creating the first master degree in human development. We'll do that in Malaysia. University of Malaya is talking about that. That would be the first degree in the region for human development, using this kind of, let's say, cross-disciplinary and cross-institutional knowledge base. You get all these slides, so you don't have to write them down, but I'm not going to go into all the details, but as you can see, there is a knowledge base which is really important if you're trying to create or redefine a profession. So that's sort of the theory. Any questions so far? Okay, no? And then in that case, okay, so what's the difference between human development human resources and human capital. Anybody, can anybody give me an example? I'm going to pick on some people just to make it more interesting. I see number one, Alexandra Isabel Nugroho.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's the difference?
I think that human resource is like the person itself, and human development is how can we like enhance the ability and skill of the human resource.
Okay, thanks. Let's get someone else. Nicholas Hermanto. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I think I have quite the same idea. The human resources is about the job performed by the people, but the capital is the ability on how the people perform the job.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Leonie. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I
What are your
think
ideas?
I have the same idea with both of them.
Well, yeah, okay, then I can just go for all 30 and then you say if I had the same as the other one, right? Anything else? Anybody have a different idea? Can add something. Hansen, what about you?
For me, I think as the human development is it's rather more an idea and or a method that are developed in HR for basically to make the workforce of a company to be better, and not only to be better, but of course also to implement the decent work that you have said before.
Okay, well, anybody else?
Sir, may I try to answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think for the concept of human resource and also human resource development, so HRM is basically like a management function. So the human development is the sub function of that, and HRM is it refers to how the principle of management could be applied effectively to manage the employees that work in an organization. And for the development itself, it refers to like continuous program made by it to be implemented to improve the performance of the human itself. And for the human capital itself, I think it's more narrow concept compared to the other two. And it's just like how a lot of people treats human being as means to an end. I think that's it from me.
Thanks. This is a great group. I wish I had a whole course to be discussing with you, but let me try to make something a little bit clear. Pambudi, you can come in and give your point of view.
By the way, Bob, on that note, congratulations, guys. Indonesian are more well known as shy and timid, but I don't see that from this group. Keep them coming. Bob and me have been teaching in many universities in China, Singapore, and Indonesia. The class has been quiet, but this class has been noisy, even starting when you choose the option B. You choose the very easy option, but still you raise your opinions. So congratulations and keep them coming. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so HR there's a whole history of what HR has been. But it starts really in the 20th century, early 20th century. You had things with unions, etc. And then after the Second World War, in which America became very dominant, suddenly you had this real, it's like Hollywood. HR became something that was all American. The Americans had the universities to teach it. They had their HRs in the companies. And this paradigm became a paradigm that was international. Even in countries like China, where they don't necessarily want to follow the Americans, but you'll see that the people in companies doing HR have very much the same concepts and the same definitions. That definition is pretty well defined in this book, 1996. So Dave Ulrich, if you're in HR, and you're reading a book or you take a course, they'll probably ask you to read this. And this is what you find on page 18. The purpose of HR is to help companies win in the marketplace. So obviously it means help companies succeed, right? But is that all? And so if you agree that that's the only function, then what about the people in the companies? Is it only to have the people as a means to win in the marketplace? In that case, people are just a resource. That's where the problem lies, is looking at people as HR, human resource. The function does not own compliance, managers do. So it means that they don't even have the opportunity to make sure that people and the company comply with certain things like human rights, for example. Third, translate their work into financial performance. Well, if you think about it, there's a lot of things about people that don't necessarily transfer into numbers. If you think about the constitution of your country or any country, how many numbers do you find? If you think about the laws, how many numbers are in the legal documents? So financial performance doesn't cover the whole world. And so here, why should you try to transfer everything about people into financial data? Next, create practices that make employees more competitive, but not more comfortable. So comfort is not really the point. It's competition, 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 productivity, productivity, productivity. And finally, HR practices do not exist to make employees happy, but to make them become more committed to what? To the goals of the company and to supporting the managers that they respect. Now, this is a book, 1996, I can remember. I was in China during those years. I bought that book, and I don't know if that's ever happened to you. Sometimes you buy a book. I got to page 18 in that book, it's a pretty big book, and I said, I disagree with everything in this definition, and threw the book away. Later on, I started writing about Dave Ulrich. He was not very happy with what I was writing, where we claimed that he created a master-slave relationship with HR. Let me stop there for a moment to see if Pambudi, who has been in HR in many companies, agrees with this definition.
Yes, I agree. Because in the end of the day, the role of HR starts from the business as strategic partner. You need to make the change management. And then after that, you need to become the employee champion to make sure that the employee will be embracing with the change. But let's not forget the dimension of the administration expert that we need to do. That's the 4 dimension. So agree with it. At the same time, looking forward to the futures, everything will need to change. This book has been written, if I remember, in the year 80s or maybe beginning of 90s. With the speed that we have now, unfortunately, by the time that the book is written, it is obsolete. The knowledge is obsolete. So what does it mean is the knowledge changes so fast. What we need to know, what we need to do in HR is just be agile and see the direction where we are going. So this direction is great, is still setting the basic foundation of HR. Having said that, a lot of things and a lot of parameters need to change even for now and for the future.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see what the consequences of this definition lead to. And this is why I'm talking about this in terms of a sustainable workforce. So here's what we see. If you look at the green line, you can see productivity. This is for the United States. So 252% increase in productivity. If you look at the gray line, you see increase in wages, right? So what you have is a situation in which the American middle class for the last 30 years has increased in productivity, but has not been paid an increasing wage. And so this is where you get this idea of working poor. And the reason this is important for our region is that the region of ASEAN, average age is 30 today, is that if we cannot increase wages, then we will not have a middle class of people working, and it will mean that who gets the money? And if you look at this, CEO compensation, so a CEO increases 940%. Worker compensation increased 12% since 1978. So the question is, does this definition and does HR contribute to inequality and an unfair society? For me, it seems unsustainable as a model for managing people at work. And you see this disconnect if you go back in the previous ages, right? So after the Second World War, 1950, this was pretty much online. But you start to see this disconnect, and this disconnect has been very, very visible in the United States today. It's not the same kind of curve that you see everywhere in the world. But basically, what has always been said is that productivity is the means for an economist. Productivity is the means for having a better life. It's what creates development, human development. But here you're seeing that there's a divide between human development, the rewards of human development, productivity. Any comments on this one? So for me, this is not the model to create a sustainable workforce. Any comments?
Yes, sir. Maybe
Yeah.
I would like to add some comments. Do you think that this implementation between HR or between the human capital, it is depends on the development also for the human being from before until now? Like we know that like now we call it as the Generation Z, and before they are something to call them. Is it real? I think it's related to it. How do you think?
We're seeing a very, very big questioning by Gen Y as well as Gen Z even more, and particularly when it comes to looking at beyond profitability to the planet and other aspects of sustainability. A lot of people would reject the idea, but this inequality in the United States is something that is an example. For example, you probably saw in the news that the richest man in the world is now who? Who's the richest man in the world? Any idea?
Jeff Bezos.
Tesla.
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos. Okay, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. First person that is more than a billionaire. He's a trillionaire now. And so he has $1 trillion. Okay. How much tax did he pay last year? 0. So this inequality is something that is started to be baked into the system. Now, I'm not saying the HR function is responsible, but you can't say that the HR function did not also enable this to happen. So that's why we're looking at a new model for HR in the region, where we want to say that we want to go beyond the middle income trap, and we want to make sure that people are becoming more productive, but also that they're developing better lives at the same time. So this leads us to the model that we're looking at for ASEAN, which is, what is the purpose? And the purpose is the goal. So we want to be world-class. We want to have stakeholder management, and we want to have a sustainable workforce. Okay, so you see that strongly linked. What should the workplace be like? Well, we should be focused on freedom, as we saw from the human development definition, continuous development, constant learning, and this fun, Sanuk, is a word that comes from Thai, which also means interesting. It's not just fun going out and having a party at fun. So we're using some words that come from the region. Exemplarity for leadership, and as we saw the example of Jeff Bezos. Oh, how much tax did Bill Gates pay? How much tax did Warren Buffett pay? How much tax did Elon Musk pay last year? How much tax did Donald Trump make? We don't know. It's all hidden. But this is what we're seeing, is this whole 1% idea. is creating a great decrease in wealth, which is, I've been an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that entrepreneurs should not make a lot of money, but what happens is that this creates a destabilization of wealth versus work. And this is where we have to make sure we keep the balance. Here we have leadership, humanity. Malasakit is a word from Philippines. Gotong Royong, Change is learning. Resilience is a Vietnamese word, Kung Krong, and innovation. So where this comes is, this is the model that we started working on. And this was the first book that we published in a series called Human Development at Work with McGraw-Hill. There's a chapter on Pambudi in that book, by the way. This is what we're focused on, okay? Anybody want to ask any questions or jump in at this point? Okay, I'll move on. So another thing that we're looking for in the sustainable workforce is an economic issue, and this comes from a white paper that we published last year, which is called the middle income trap. Anybody know? Are you familiar with this concept? So you've got basically lower income, that's for the really poor countries. You've got high income, the OECD countries, the rich countries, or when you get the G20 and those kind of meetings, those are the high income countries. We have some of them, we have two of them in ASEAN. We have Singapore and Brunei. But all the others, so the big population countries are in the middle income, lower middle or upper middle. And the trap is an economic point of view, which is if you're a middle income, it's very, very difficult to become upper income. Singapore succeeded brilliantly and very quickly, as did a lot of other countries in Asia, Japan, Korea, for example. But what we're seeing here is that the goal is, this is a tracking mechanism to start to see how we are going to be able to increase the income of these countries. You can obviously see Indonesia, which is this one here. Now, obviously, this will be going down with COVID, but the purpose is, how do we continue to develop, even in an economic point of view? And as I say, inequality is one of the enemies of this kind of development, and equality and sharing is one of the ways to drive this development. Okay, let's move on. So what we have said is that we believe that ASEAN as an organization needs to start driving this kind of development, this human development, past the middle income trap. And unfortunately, it's more up to business and to entrepreneurship organizations, social entrepreneurship, for example, to move beyond this trap. But this is what we got from the companies to say, how do we go beyond this? How can companies actually help? So one is this stakeholder idea, that is to say, companies have a responsibility to stakeholders, to other people, not just to shareholders. Secondly, challenge barriers, and there are a lot of them across ASEAN, and as you know, very different types of law across the country, across the different countries. Build a human development ecosystem. So these ecosystems, higher education, professional service firms, as well as companies. Accelerate ASEAN-wide development of management. So again, our authentic management and leadership coming from the region is something that is important. Of course, we have to be world-class. Of course, we have to match. But we're in a very strong competition these days of influence between the Chinese Belt and Road influence coming down into this region and the Indo-Pacific coming from not just India, but also the United States across into Australia, Japan as well. And here, the last one, ensure human development for all workers, which brings us pretty quickly to our case. So I'm going to go to that next. So the idea here of the sustainable workforce is the workforce ensures the sustainable development of the company. That's what HR does. That's what human capital does. But at the same time, companies have to ensure the sustainable development of the workforce, including stakeholders. Okay, so not just employees. And that's where we come to challenges. I'm going to skip this one because we're running out of time. But the challenges for companies and the challenges of a sustainable workforce are there. And what we are looking for is how can we actually overcome these challenges? And this is what it means when you start to look at what does a company look like with human development. So the CHRO becomes a human development officer. That is to say, to take responsibility for these key areas: human development, organizational development, productivity, analytics. Contingent workforce, which is what our case is about, is people who are working for your company but not employees. And culture, ethics, compliance, and finally the ecosystem, sustainability, CSR, etc. And then you get to the blue, which are the more traditional functions that would be distributed in the different business units of a company. So talent and learning, which is already part of HR, humans and technology, so the technology is there, but this human machine and AI is a very big area that we'll be working on. And employee experience, branding, what is it? The experience of working, how can we improve the experience of working is also there. Which brings us to our case study. So let me begin before we go. You have breakout rooms, right? Let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
They have breakout rooms. Okay. So before we have breakout rooms, let me just ask if there's any questions that you have or any comments on what I've just presented so that we can go into the case.
Sir, may I have a question?
Yeah, please.
So my name is Nico. So my question is about one kind of policy that I think it might be contributing on like the income trap that you have mentioned. Is it like in Indonesia, there is like minimum wage policy? Do you think it is one of the kind of trap, or maybe it really helps of making the people have certain wage? Thank you.
Okay, there's been a lot of debate in economics about minimum wage. Does minimum wage make your workforce less competitive? Studies that have shown, and it took quite a while to actually get concluding studies, is that a minimum wage does not necessarily create unemployment. In other words, the idea is if we raise wages too high, then people that should be working will be out of work, etc. What we do see, however, is wage competition among countries, right? So obviously, Indonesians don't make the same wage as Singaporeans. There's no minimum wage in Singapore. And then we're starting to see that there's even competition with Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, etc. So what we're seeing from a geopolitical and historical point of view in ASEAN is we have been a cheap labor area. We are cheap labor and young organization. So for companies to move in and invest, this is very attractive. On the other hand, we're not highly productive. The productivity level is fairly low. And the amount of leadership and experts that are generated from the region needs to improve. And again, this is, if you look at where I live in Singapore, and so I'm following their labor policies very, very closely, is they have, they're still investing. It's a rich country, but they're still investing very heavily in workforce skills, reconversion, etc., to try to maintain a high employability rate. We recently did a study just last week, had a study with HR leaders from different countries, and we found that youth unemployment is one of the biggest challenges for these countries. For example, in Malaysia, youth unemployment is at 30%, but regular unemployment is only 12%. We see this in China as well. So you have countries which produce a lot of university graduates, for example, even if they produce university graduates, can't find a job. So then the question becomes, how do you create a policy that creates more employment and at the same time has wages rising? There's no simple answer, but there are a number of things that are recommended in these kind of studies, and that's what we did in this white paper, Beyond the Middle Income Trap. In general, what it means is a massive investment in human development. That's why we created this organization, because this region needs a massive investment in human development and how to do it right. Does that answer your question, Nicholas?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
Sir, my name is Wilma. So this whole human development concept, are you saying that this concept is to prevent companies to not have a high number of employee turnover?
No, that's called retention. Actually, what you find in a fast-moving economy is that there is generally high turnover. In other words, and that's what we're seeing after COVID. We're seeing this in the United States right now, which is creating inflation. But what we're seeing is that if it's a supply and demand issue, if there are not enough talented, educated, and prepared workers in a workforce, and there is a lot of investment in the workforce, what happens is that individuals say, I'm not getting a raise in my company, so if I go for this other company, I'll get more money. And this becomes a strategy of how do I get a higher income by moving from one company to the next. Companies, on the other hand, invest in people, and they want people to stay until they don't need them anymore. Then they fire them. But basically what I'm saying is that high turnover or high mobility can be a problem for companies, because the minute they have invested, they lose that investment because people leave, and then they have to invest again. So the training budget and the development budget is something that must include a percentage of people that will be leaving. In Indonesia, this is very high, and particularly high for people who are highly talented, that can become managers or experts or entrepreneurs. And we're seeing it accelerated even more by the unicorn companies that can pay very high salaries to those people that they want to hire, which makes it so that they take away the talent from the traditional companies, which brings us back to our Bluebird case. But does that answer your question, Wilma?
Yes, sir. So it's about a return for the company.
That's one way we measure it, yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So in that case, let's go to the case. So I'm going to ask you to go to your breakout rooms. Have you read you've all got the paper? Yeah. Go into the breakout rooms. There are two questions that I'm going to ask you. Number one, how will Bluebird's positioning as a company? So basically the case, and I'm just going to walk you through it, is you've got, everybody knows Gojek as a company. Everybody knows that Gojek is a unicorn, a Deca unicorn, is now merging with Traveloka. There's a huge amount of investment that is being made in this company. And the company has a few thousand employees, but a few million drivers around the region, okay? The drivers are on contract. It's called the gig economy. That is to say, they are paid when, with this app, they actually take a ride and then they get money. In Bluebird's case, it's somewhat different, as you'll see. What's the word contract? And so the question is, if Bluebird is saying we're going to create a more sustainable workforce, rather than Gojek, which is just paying the money to the drivers but not investing in their human development, then we can see that there's a difference in strategy, okay? So the first one is, how does this give you a business advantage at Bluebird if you're saying we're investing more in people? Okay, that's question number one. Question number two is, if you are at Bluebird, if you are in Pambudi Sunarsihanto's shoes, and you're saying, how am I going to make this work? And we'll talk about the crisis, but even beyond the, as you can imagine, for all drivers in logistics today, there's a crisis, and particularly in the taxi ride-hailing business. So how do I create this sustainable advantage? What can I do? What are the possible ideas? So you have 10 minutes to discuss in your groups, and then we're going to come back because I want to take enough time to be able to give you an idea of presenting your ideas. And in this case, I will not be leading the discussion. I'll ask Pambudi to lead the discussion because he knows, he's in the business, he's dealing with this problem. I will jump in from time to time if I have something to say. But you'll come in with your ideas on questions 1 and 2, and then he will talk about what he's doing, and then we'll see about some other broader conclusions at the end about human development across the region and in Indonesia. Okay? 10 minutes. Thank you. Please go to your breakout rooms. Okay, thanks. So we've got a little bit less than an hour for a very interesting case. We've got the expert who can talk about this case because he would know obviously exactly what the competition is and what he's going through. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to talk. I'm going to jump from, I'll take question 1 and I'll call on 3 groups and then see what your ideas are. And Pambudi will then reply. And if others of you have ideas, then I will jump to question 2 with the other 4 groups, okay? So let me begin with group number 7. Who's the presenter for group number 7?
Yes, sir.
Okay, group number 7, please. What's your...
Sophie and Nurul. I'm from group 7, and we have our team members. The first one is Sophie Citra Kirana, Nurul Jihad, and Raftaria. I think for the first question, it will start with with Sophie first. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go quickly because we don't have that much time. Okay.
So first, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. For the first question, I would like to answer that investing in people, I think it's very advantageous. I was heavily inspired by Mr. Bob's statement that it would lower the turnover rate because it happened to my father's company as well. My father told me that one of his employee would like to move to other company because they would like to pay higher salary. So I believe that investing in people in human resource development is very important regarding to that matters. And next, Deo would like to add more.
Yes, I think I want to add that it could enhance the names of Bluebird also, as the employees of the Bluebird are selected really carefully, as they are given the big investment, not just as a human to work, but also for their incentives of life. So by having this opportunity, it would increase also for the services in the Bluebird will be better than the others. And I think Jihad and Rafter would give something.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I would like to add that employees who share the company values foster loyalty. So in this case, many employees, especially in this term, younger workers, are willing to accept the training that the company offer for their career in the company. The values of the company closely mirror to their own. So spend some time learning what is most meaningful to the employees about their work and update about the corporate values within their input. And this can foster greater employee loyalty and commitment to the organization, which will result in a great result for the company itself.
Okay, sounds good. So that's group 7. So what I've got is selection, branding, retention, training, meaningful work. So far, so good. Let's congratulations on that one. Let's go to group 3.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Bob.
Yeah.
For I agree with that investment for HR is very important, and also for Bluebird, by investing in HR, the employee will have a automatically long period of working period, and thus this results to more productivity in them and also a profitability for the company. So
yeah,
like you mentioned before, the company will get benefits as also as the workforce, so sustainable workforce, as you mentioned earlier. And so any other of my member want to add?
Thanks, Mohammed. Anybody else from group 3? Okay, all right. Then we go to group 1.
Yeah, so for group 1, we're going to answer the first question first. So maybe we can start with Carlin to elaborate regarding the Blue Ocean leadership.
Oh, okay. Carlin, you've done Blue Ocean, huh?
Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it's coincidentally I have learned about this before this IWEEK started. So yeah, I will like to share it. Maybe friends also know about the Blue Ocean leadership. You can read it in the Harvard Business Review. Basically, Blue Ocean leadership is kind of leadership that is not only thinking about themselves as a leader, but the leader is kind of a role model for the employees, which is they're investing their energy, and also the development of the employees is important for them. So basically, there is 4 basic concept. It's eliminate, raise, eliminate the acts and activities that leader invest in their time and intelligence in what should be eliminated, and then you have to reduce what acts and activities, and then you have to raise what acts and activities invest what best for your employees, and also create an acts and also activities for increasing the employees' activities effectiveness. Okay, so yeah, if you want, I can share it in the chat room if you want.
Yeah, share it in the chat. Thank you, Carlin. Blue Ocean is one of the recent concepts, not that recent, but it was created by INSEAD, you know, the business school that is actually it's based out here, and we're working with them at Pertamina. Blue Ocean. Okay, we'll see if our friend Pambudi is a Blue Ocean leader. Next, who else in group 1?
And I want to add for the first question that I think that training is very important for the drivers, especially trainings for safety driving and attitude, because I believe that especially the Silverbird and Goldenbird drivers is the attitude is very good towards the customers. And besides that, I think that Bluebird can also penetrate for the argo matter, so there will be no naughty driver that makes, for the taxi matter itself. So they can promote to their customers that also we use a taxi matter, but we are cheaper, and we promise you that we will not be naughty like that.
Okay, so no cheating. Is that what you're saying, Alexander?
Yes, it's true.
Honest or fair, yeah? Okay, no cheating.
Yes, and for the number 2, maybe my friends can help to answer.
Let's go to,
okay,
wait for number 2. Just because there's so many of you and we need to give everybody a chance to talk.
Yes.
So no cheating. Blue Ocean training, no cheating for group 1. Anybody else in group 1? Okay, lots of great suggestions. So I'm going to now turn to Pambudi. So we've got some of those ideas, and I'm going to come back to you, Pambudi, and then we'll see if anybody else has any other ideas on question number 1, which is how do you gain a competitive advantage in this particular market? Unfortunately, I think all of you know the difference between Gojek and Bluebird as a company. So how do you do this, Pam?
Okay, thank you very much. Just wondering if people here know the meaning of the word bluebird. Of course, it's burung biru. But then the legend from the North Europe says that at that time, you can search and Google this. The bluebird, it means the bird that brings happiness. 49 years ago, a lady, very strong lady, so congratulations to all the ladies and women in this group, called Ibu Fatimah Joko Sutono, founded the Bluebird with the concept that it will bring the happiness for the driver, for the employee, for the customer, and for the community around it. So for examples, at that time, she didn't have that much money. She cooked herself for the driver. And she told her family, we should not eat unless all the driver already ate. And that's the spirit at that time. Coming back now, it's still the concept that we are doing. Bob mentioned about the human resources. When you look at the resource, especially all of you come from the economy, what comes to your mind when you have resources? You want to use that resource to assist something. You want to exploit the resources to achieve something. That's the reason why the CEO could earn 100 times more than the other workers. Because the word is resources. The trend after that is something that is more scientific or better in terms of the wording, but it doesn't help in terms of the meaning. It's human capital. And people are so proud of the word human capital. But what do you have in your mind when you have human capital? You want to invest in order to gain more. And that's the key. But what do we do with the human? So that's why it comes the word human development. It's time to develop human as a whole development. So for example, in case you didn't know, to the driver of Bluebird, obviously they got their money. They work, they got their money. By commission, it's not by minimum wage. Why? Because we want to teach them responsibility. You work hard, you earn more. You work lazy, you earn less. Compared to the minimum wage, I will work here, I will at least need to have that minimum wage. And the reality in Indonesia, some workers are extremely excellent and work hard, but some don't. They say, why bother to work? I have the minimum wage anyway. And if they fire me, I will get very high severance package. So that's what is killing from the concept of minimum wage, which was initially good, but along the way there is an abuse. Abuse can come from both sides. Some company in Indonesia abuse their employee by not respecting the law, by exploiting them. In Indonesia, the word is zolim, menzolimi karyawan. But do you think employee are the employer or the company are the only one who can exploit, who can menzolimi? No, the employer also can menzolimi. How do they do that? By coming to work and knowing that they will have anyway the minimum wage, but then they don't work. Fire me, you will need to pay me the severance package. And if you know the law of employment in Indonesia, unfortunately, it is true. It is extremely hard. So we teach responsibility by give them the commission. But that's only one angle. That's only the money component. Then come the training, like what you mentioned. How to serve the customer. How to be honest with them. I guarantee you, take any Bluebird taxi in any city in Indonesia, leave anything valuable. You can leave your laptop, you can leave your mobile phone, you can leave your Prada bag, whether it's original or KW, go ahead, leave it. Call me, I will return it to you in 2 hours. And I'm serious. I have colleague of HR director who lost their laptop, mobile phone, bag, expensive bag, and that because we teach them honesty and we select them according to that. So what is that? money, number one. Of course, we have the training. Of course, we have the medical benefit. The founder of Bluebird, one of the founder of Bluebird was a doctor. So he hired a lot of doctors to work in our branches. So that's three. So everybody can work quietly. So I got the money, but if something happened, my family got taken care of. We give them a human as a human, like the driver of Bluebird. It's not only them as individual, but also it has their family, their wife, and everything. We train their wife how to cook properly. I'm not talking about Indomie or Me Instant, but properly so that they can open the catering business. We teach them in terms of tailor so that they can open a tailor business. Entrepreneurship, small and medium company. That's the husband, that's the wife. The children, we give them the scholarship to the children. So that actually we give them the scholarship. A lot of them are doing well. In Indonesia, a lot of the children of our driver, they are doing extremely well. Last year, the best graduate from ITB is one of the son of our driver. So that's what it is. That's what we call developing human as a human. Not only by money. You are right. The first group, if I remember, it was Sophie Kirana. When she mentioned that you cannot only compete with money. Guys, when you have your own business, it does not matter how much money you pay the people. There is always competitor who are willing to hire them for money. If you like football, take a look at Cristiano Ronaldo. How much money the club pay him? Still, he moved from one club to another. So money is not the answer. The human development is. And as that, it is very important to bring that value. We believe that we are running our business for a long run. That's the reason why we survive for the past 49 years. And we will survive again for the next 49 years and more. People already predicted a long time ago. Oh, with this online player, Bluebird will go bankrupt soon. Some analysts, some business analysts, they did that. Yeah. But we survive and we will continue to survive. Not that it's easy, we are struggling, but none of the business are easy. But we will survive. Why? Because we have this DNA to put a human as a human. When we pamper the driver, when we take care of our driver, the driver will take care of our customer. And the customer will take care of our long-term success, profitability. You don't take care of your employee will not take care of the customer. The customer will run away and choose another competitor. As a result, they will go to another company. And that's the sign of death. If all your customer go to your competitor. So that's how the philosophy is Bluebird. Just to give you an example, because there is something that is even closer. I invite all of you to go to Klaten. In Klaten, there is a manufacturing of mineral water called Aqua. I used to be the HR director of Aqua. Some other companies, they do manufacturing. They destroy the environment. They might burn the forest. And they don't care about the local people. But if you go to Aqua, of course, we do the business. By taking the clean water and serving it to you, by doing that is healthy water for your healthy people. After that, we take care of healthy planet. We plant more trees than we take. We take care of the local people. We only employ local people as a factory worker so that their welfare is taken care of. And that's what I call human development. Go only beyond, I hire one person, I exploit them to the maximum. If I'm not happy, I fire them. But you look at the community, because in the end of the day, the healthy people, the healthy business will have to take care of the healthy employee, will have to take care of the healthy planet. Hence, later on, it will become healthy business as a profit. We know. In Indonesia, we call it UUD, ujung-ujungnya duit juga. Which means, in the end of the day, you look for profitable business. It's true, guys. I'm not going to lie. Because if there is no profit, the company cannot hire people, cannot pay the employee. So in the end of the day, we are looking at the money. But some of the people look at the money from the short-term angle by hit and run, getting as much money as possible, then you run away. Some other people look at the long-term success of the business because you want to develop in the longer run. Hence, you need to have what I say, the healthy business with the healthy customer, with the healthy environment, with the healthy people, employee, family, wife, children, everything, community around. I'm doing the vaccination for all the Bluebird driver and employee. And people keep asking me, Pak Pambudi, when did you do the vaccination for yourself? Of course, I want to make sure that all the driver go first because for me, they're important. So we already start the vaccination for our driver on March. 3 months later, we finish the vaccination for 20,000 people. Then Pak Pambudi go as the last person to get vaccinated. Because what I learned is a commander of the boat, nahkoda kapal, you need to save your boat and all the passengers before you save yourself. It's not like some leader who try to make the business, but then for any simple problem, they are the first one to run away and save themselves rather than saving their people. That's the concept of human development that I want to say. Not that I'm idealistic, but believe me, it's proven to be the magic formula to be successful in the longer run. I worked in Nokia before. I worked in Citibank. I worked in Telkomsel, Danone Aqua, and now Bluebird. Why? Because those companies are the one who really apply the human development concept since the beginning. That's what I'm seeing. But of course, I'm open to question and answer. Thank you.
So we're going to stay on question number 1, which is how do you actually get this competitive advantage? What he's been saying is we have a culture, we give them insurance, we have training, we help the families to become employable, we give scholarships for children, and recently we had a vaccination campaign. Pambudi, may I ask you just one thing? Which one seems to work the best in terms of competition, right? So here you have Gojek, you have Grab, you have all these other driving companies, but Bluebird is a brand. And how do you actually how do you make this into a competitive advantage? What do you see as working the best? Because at the beginning when Gojek came in, it was like, wow, what are we going to do, right?
Okay. It is a completely different business model. We believe that business must be a long-term success. And in order to put a long-term success, you must be profitable. That's one reason. That's why we take care of our employee with the goal to make the profit. Unfortunately, mainly in the new startup concept, people still don't believe in the profitability. Let me tell you, some of our competitors, without mentioning names, they are not profitable. The same goes with a lot of other startups, not only in the transport, but also not only in the transport, but also in the in other areas such as e-commerce and so on. They are not profitable. Why? Because they are thinking to get as much customer as possible, as much volume as possible, then they do next. So it is normal that perhaps for 3, 4, or 5 years, they are not profitable. So the saying goes, you work in a startup. Long time ago started, but profit is never up. And that's the reality. You look at all the startups, none of them. But we don't believe that this is going to be sustainable. The investor will not be happy with that. In the end of the day, it's time to move from selling the dream to delivering concrete profitability. So how do we do the business in the longer run? While some other company hire and fire, mean hire a lot of driver, not even hire, but it's like a partnership model or gig worker concept. Then after that, they come and go. As a result, the customers sometimes meet a very polite and clean and pretty driver. Sometimes they meet a very dirty, not taking shower for 2 weeks and smelly driver. There is no consistency. Same with the car. We try to put our brand identity. We try to put our brand equity. That is standard. You pay what you got. You order Bluebird in Yogyakarta, Jakarta, wherever, you find more or less the same car and the same driver. And that's our brand. That's what we are trying to propose. This is why we believe in the long run, we will continue to survive and excel.
Thanks.
That's my answer.
So in any of the other groups, before we pass to question number 2, did you have any ideas that were not mentioned so far? Any great ideas that you had in your group?
May our group present our findings?
Chitra, yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Actually, we have like created some presentation deck, if I may. Okay. So, okay.
That was fast.
Yeah. Okay, so let us begin. Nicholas, if you will start.
Okay, thank you. So we are from group 5. Next slide, please. So just start from
which group are you in, Chitra?
Group 5, sir.
Okay.
So the main finding that some of this already mentioned, but I will add more on the one that it is not already presented. So it's about the consumer experience. We are going to focus on like what have been mentioned by Pak Pambudi before. If we are taking care of the drivers will eventually take care of the consumers. So promoting this consumer experience is one of the main advantages from Bluebird compared to the other ride-hailing app like Gojek and Grab. And also the next one is the quality control of the human capital, because with the system that Bluebird have, it's actually becoming easier for them to control the drivers to have the same and align this with the vision and the mission of the company compared to Gojek and Grab, where we face many unstable the quality from one driver and the others. And for the last one, to summarize, it is having the better human development process, because we are caring about the people because they are the employee of our company, instead of focusing on making more and more profit, which it is very what is it like short oriented and not long oriented.
Okay, maybe to add to what Nicholas had just said, that for the second question, maybe we could have like a revenue sharing process, because a lot of these companies
let me hold on for the second question. Okay, you're in the second question. Let's stop there for the moment, because then I need to call on the other groups, but I'll come back to you, I promise. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
One question, Pambudi, and I was involved in this when in Singapore. You know, we have the same situation with Grab taxis and Comfort taxis, the traditional one. So I was asking recently, and what Comfort is doing is they will take no driver under 30, and very few drivers that come from Grab are selected into Comfort. So they have a sort of, exactly as Group 5 was saying, they have a selection procedure and they have a quality control procedure. Do you have that at Bluebird too?
Well, in the end of the day, we have completely different character that we need. I always believe that different company, different cultures. These guys are from Yogyakarta. They know a zoo called Gembira Loka. In the zoo, the bird will fly in the sky, the fish will swim in the pool, and the horse will run in the grass. What does it mean? All the animals are comfortable in their own habitat. Okay. The same goes, some drivers have just the characters to be working in Bluebird. Some drivers just don't have the patience and the customer focus that they need. They might earn more money, they might be faster, they might be more productive and aggressive, but they are not there. So what does it mean? We select people according to that. So more or less, the people who work in Bluebird have the similarity of character. Maybe 20,000 people, you might miss one or two, fine. I'm not saying that we are perfect, but we have that character. As a result, we might have that, our driver may not fit to their cultures. And the same goes vice versa. What does it mean? We also happen to have our driver resign from Bluebird and join other company. But usually sooner or later, 1, 2, 3, 6 months maximum, they all come back. Because why? A fish will always be a fish who's like to swim in the water. They don't like to fly in the sky.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Okay. Let's go to question number 2. And this is an interesting one because here we're talking about sustainability, right? And that's why I was trying to give you this sort of, you may call it anti-American. I'm not anti-American. I was born in the US. But we can see that there has been a turn, right, in the last 30 years in the US model. And the reason I wanted to emphasize that is because we have to, in Indonesia, particularly, it's a very large country, 4th largest population. How do you make this workforce sustainable? And how does a company, how is a company sustainable? Doesn't mean that the company has always the same product and the same business, but still you have to work through people. So how do you create a sustainable workforce? And as you know, these gig companies, if you talk about, let's say Grab, you know, they're trying to get out of the ride-hailing business because they don't make as much money. They're using their profitability for banking and other gaming and other kinds of things. So the question number 2 is, how can Bluebird make this workforce sustainable? What's the key to sustainability? And I promised I'm going to give group number 5 the first chance. So go ahead, group 5.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we'll go back to the second questions and answers. So our group thinks that we would create a non-monetary rewards as the speaker had already mentioned about, for example, giving bonuses and also giving vaccines to the drivers. I mean, it would create another retention for the drivers to be able to know that they've been looked by the company through a non-monetary rewards. And maybe the one that I would like to highlight, it's the create a revenue sharing process, because a lot of people here know that, for example, Gojek and also Grab drivers uses a revenue sharing process, but they have like this difficulties, which is their recruitment process is usually using gig model. And though because Bluebird has had an advantage of a structured recruitment process, we could have a revenue sharing process that had been set and fixed by the first time they sign the paper, and this had been effective and to be known, and in addition to create a high motivated driver, they would still get a bare minimum wages, or it's not standard minimum upah pekerja in each region, but it's actually more of like if they need to have like for clients per week, or a bare minimum of 10 working hours per day or per week. I think that's it. And maybe they could have like mobile supervision, or even having a direct supervision with the local or regional manager. I think that's all for our group. Maybe other members from our group wanted to add something.
Well, it sounds like group 5 spent some time on this, huh? Did you prepare this before coming today?
No, actually, sir.
Only in that 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
That group, okay. Let me go now to group number 2.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna add some points for the second question. I'm from group 2. Yeah. So basically, one another points that I want to add from my group is basically related to training, but it's basically different from the training that other groups has mentioned earlier. It's related to the training, which we all know that basically Bluebird has different range, like different varieties of products, like based on the exclusiveness of the service offered to the consumers. So I think the training can be related to the like how Bluebird can give a training to all the drivers in case that the Bluebird can be lacking on the human capital, like this recent pandemic situation where just human capital is being laid off so much, and then it can be kind of to ease the company's business operational itself, because they can just adjust the needs and the preferences to match perfectly with the offered products. And that's for me. I think my other colleague has another point to add.
Okay, please. Anybody to add? Group number 2? Okay. Group number 4.
Okay, so I think that I may start first. My colleagues who can add upon it later. So I think that we can add upon the answers to other groups by talking about the key idea first before talking about what factors or actions that Bluebird can implement in order to maintain this sustainability in their company. So we think that there needs to be first a good ideology within the company itself, meaning that from yesterday's keynote speech, if anyone remembers, we talked about Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theory. Basically, in his first theorem, he says that a formal system rich in arithmetics can be either consistent or complete, but not both. Now, in a consistent economic thinking, it would make sense for the employers or maybe even the employee to exploit one another because they're only thinking about themselves. But in order to maintain sustainability, what we need to opt for isn't necessarily economic consistency, but instead for economic completeness, in which the company cares about one another. They care about the workers themselves and try to give mechanisms in order to maintain the productivity, the work engagement, their consistent attendance, and also try to maintain the retention of the workers themselves. So with this, we believe that at the core, the company needs to first understand, the higher ups of the companies need to first understand that the aim is not for a consistent economic theory which tries to exploit the workers, but instead something complete which helps to maintain the system in itself. So I think my teammates can now present our findings about the key factors in order to make sustainable workforce.
Thanks, Mohammed. Pambudi, that brings you back to your mathematical studies long ago, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The Gödel theorem. Thank you. Yes, please. Who's going to come next?
So my name is Wilma. I'm from Group 4, same like Arif. So in addition from what Arif said about the complete of the economics, I think the other keywords is about comfortability. So Bluebird can be a desirable workplace. The first key factors that we find is Bluebird has benefit facilities such as life insurance, healthcare, maternity leave, retirement plans, and share ownership. So this benefit will increase employees' commitment, and in the long term, it will benefit Bluebird. And then the human development will lead Bluebird into great services because the employee feel comfortable and they're willing to give their best of their passion. And then with its collaboration with Gojek, Bluebird also have Gojek, or in this case Go-Cars market. So when the employees have they feel comfortable and they want to give their best at their performance, they can elaborate and explore the market, not only Bluebird's market, but also Gojek's market.
Thank you. Great thinking and good preparation. Number 6, Ruth number 6, last but not least.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Salman. I'm from Group 6. So some of our points were actually mentioned by the other groups, such as proper training, insurances provider, and the reward system. But we'll just add on a few more points which emphasizes on the advantage of having a sustainable workforce, which is the positive well-being of the workers. So one example that they can actually do is the workplace wellness. For example, Bluebird can actually initiate exercise programs during the workday where during the employee schedule itself. So this will help to impact their health and also make them more productive. And a non-smoking corporate policy can also be taught in the company itself, and also like educate the drivers where it's not safe to actually drive while smoking because there are so many safety reasons.
Yeah.
And other than that, Bluebird can also provide a suitable dining. So, for example, in the Bluebird, I'm pretty sure they have like their own company where the taxi drivers actually come by the end of the day or before their shift starts. So maybe Bluebird can actually stock their vending machines with healthier food instead of like processed or caffeine drinks. And also maybe if there are cafeteria providers, it can be advised to or encourage them to use reusable dishware instead of using styrofoam and plastic containers. So that's from us so far. If any of my group members want to add on, go ahead.
Anybody else? Okay, so I think you've got a full load there, Pambudi. Quite a long list, so very interesting as well. We've seen the training, but we see the economic completeness, the workplace, health, obviously. And I'm going to ask you also, what actually was the reaction of the drivers with your vaccine campaign? And then the non-smoking. Please go ahead, Pam.
Okay, thank you very much. I like all the idea. By the way, congratulations. Bob, sorry, I need to leave after my last statement here. So I want to say thank you and congratulations to all of you. You are all great. How do I say, student. And by all means, find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm writing about leadership. I'm writing about innovation and strategy every 2 or 3 days. And by all means, send me your CV in case you need a job, whether it's in Bluebird or I can recommend you to other company. I'm also leading the HR Association of Indonesia, so I know all the HR director. I saw some smiling face, but remember this, make me proud. Your CV must be very good in terms of customizing which company you want to work for, why you want to learn, and what do you want to contribute. If you send me a generic letter with a generic CV, I will throw them away. I promise you. Okay. When you are in high school, a man will not write a love letter and photocopy 50 times, sending it to the 50 girls. If a girl receives such letter, you are hurt. You will throw them away. HR is exactly the same thing. We want to know what you can contribute, what you will learn from us. Okay, but anyway, I will go back to the question of Bob. So now, I like what you are saying. Having said that, I want to correct a little bit. When you are saying that our job, the driver will be comfortable and stay, sorry, that's not the goal. We don't want the employee to be comfortable. And that's the point of Indonesian labor law. We make them so comfortable, they stay, but they don't perform because they are so comfortable. Remember this, there are two words that can never go together, comfort and progress. You want to be comfortable, you will be sure there is no progress. You want to progress, there will be no comfortable situation. Now, why I'm saying this? Because the company, whatever the company is, will go through the difficult time, especially during the pandemic, before we call it financial crisis, before we call it disruption, digitalization, or whatever we call. There is a lot of crisis that we need to manage. And you don't manage the crisis by having comfortable employees. That's the reason why some of the company, including National Airlines Company of Indonesia, are in trouble. Why? Because you need to manage the crisis, but some of the employer are in the comfort zone. So what do? You need a resilient employee. You need a very strong Corsa, the spirit of being together. So that when we are doing well, we will tell them, guys, we are doing very well. Let's enjoy the cake together. I'm not saying cake, I'm saying money, rice, or whatever we call. But you know the point. During the difficult situation, we will tell them, guys, let's work harder to save the company. During the extremely difficult situation, there is no people in the street of Jakarta. What are we going to do? It doesn't matter how hard they work. There is no money coming. There is no people. It's PPKM or whatever we call it. So we will tell them, guys, stay home yet. Or maybe you go pulang kampung to your home village. Then after that, when the business pick up, please come back and let's fight again together. You will never be able to do that if you don't have a strong family culture, if we don't take care of each other. That's the reason why we are surviving and we will continue. Because we are not a company. We are a family. And as a family, we support each other, we love each other, we hold hands together. That's our difference compared to others. Okay, thank you very much, Baba.
Thank you, Pambudi. So I know you have to go. One last word of advice for these bright young group of people. What would you advise them?
I like you, and please continue on these 3 C: competence, confidence, and communication skills. A lot of people in Indonesia kill their career because they think they are doing well, they will do well as long as they are smart and competent. The problem is in Indonesia, we teach them a lot of proverbs that would say, be smart and shut up. Okay, ya. Yang pendiam itu bijaksana, tong kosong nyaring bunyinya, air beriak tanda tak dalam, padi yang tua makin menunduk, air tenang menghanyutkan. What does it mean? Everybody in Indonesia will tell you, be smart and shut up. Well, it's no longer true. So I like all of you because you are all very competent. I can see that from what you are saying. You are all very confident and you all good communication skills. Continue to improve on that and you will do great in your career. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you for joining us, Pambudi. Good to see you again. Good luck on the challenges that we have. As an HR leader in Indonesia, it's not easy, and congratulations on your vaccination campaign.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, well, we're going to finish off. I just have a couple of slides to show you in conclusion. And these are not theoretical slides, but I would like to echo what my friend Pambudi said, is I found this group very, very bright. I don't know where you picked them up. Rocky, did you select them among your best students or what? But it does give me, I'm an old man, as you know, so it gives me great hope and also great confidence that with this kind of young population, the next generation for leadership, and I'm talking about world leadership, out of Indonesia is something I've been talking about for quite some time. And you've got it. You will be able to do it. So congratulations. Let me finish off with philosophy. That's what I studied in school. So when we talk about development, it's an important word. I think you really have got it, what we were trying to say today, in terms of the importance of human development in organizations. And so historically, development has been something that you would find in philosophers like Hegel and Marx. But in fact, in biological development, the theory of evolution does not say that species are evolving to better and better species. The human species is not at the top of the cycle for the best possible biological species. It goes on and on. But what has happened in the 20th century, late 20th century and now, is we are moving into the Anthropocene era, in which we control and can determine what's going on in the planet, the number of biological species that are destroyed, and we will soon be, and we're already starting, as you know, the vaccine for COVID is an RNA vaccine. So we're already starting to introduce manipulation, genetic manipulation into the species. And during the rest of the 20th century, we will be able to look at that. So it means in these last two areas, what kind of world do you want to have? We have huge amount of control compared to what we had before. What kind of people do you want? We have a huge amount of control about what that's going to do. And where will humanity be? Is it going to be based on this earth or somewhere else? All of these areas are areas of how we decide we are going to develop. So development is something to take very, very seriously when you think of developing for what, developing in what direction. So my final slide is the advantage that you have in Indonesia and on a larger scope in ASEAN. It's the most, in terms of a workforce, the regional workforce, this is the most diverse workforce in the world, right? The largest Muslim population in the world, the second largest Buddhist population in the world, third largest Christian population in the world. And so what has been the strength and the characteristic of people in this part of the world is the ability to understand, to respect, and to work with people that are different. This diversity is one of the real important strengths that we have. So at the same time, human development is fundamentally an ethical question. Each one of you will have to decide what's important, what's the right thing to do, what am I going to do? You'll have to decide that for yourself. So build on your core beliefs, build on your own ideas, and take action as leaders for human development of your country, of the region, and also in the world. This is the opportunity that you have. It's been a pleasure to talk with all of you, to get to know you a little bit. I wish I could spend time to get to know all of you a lot better. Thank you very much. I took some notes for your great ideas, and best of luck on the rest of your international week and on the rest of your studies. Thank you very much. And I'll give you my...
thank you so much. I am very lucky to be the facilitator because I also learned a lot from this, and especially because my field is not in the business, it's in the economics, but from this session, I have obtained very insightful view from the business area. So that was great. And by the way, let's everyone give a virtual round of applause for Pak Bob. Thank you so much, Pak Bob.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Amanda, for your help. Thank you for the invitation.
You are very welcome.